Well, we're here at Edinburgh University where they're trying to show the film Adult Human Female. The venue is booked, the tickets were all sold, but it's been cancelled. It's been cancelled because a handful of activists blocked the entrance and they just got their way. So instead of the police coming along and dragging them away and to enable law-abiding citizens to go about their business, this just handful of people have been allowed to cancel the whole event. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, pathetically weak by the authorities of Edinburgh University, but that's where we are. So we've got the regulars of Red to Mob Cabaret Against Hate Speech here. I sat listening to them, I stood watching them for a while. They recognised me, started hurling all sorts of abuse. Coming over, being quite sort of intimidating and provocative. Doing like actually in contact with me, doing things in my face. But, well, whatever. They're just showing their character.
Hey, Dad. Please don't come near me, Richard. You smell so bad. Take a short little intermission to hydrate, because hydration is important, unlike Richard Lucas. Now, Richard, I know you're not very cultured. This is shared just the humor. Richard, you're gonna be the only one. It's all very strong enough now. Just lose yourself. Been living in a fantasy without meaning. Oh, it's not okay. Hi, Neil. Neil there, and all your friends.
Did you hear him? He said, "Hi, Neil. You're going to be late for your meeting." And said, yeah.
According to the BBC, a University of Edinburgh spokesperson said, "We're disappointed that again this event has not been able to go ahead. In line with our commitment to fostering an inclusive, supportive and safe environment for our whole community, we worked with the organisers and put measures in place to mitigate risks associated with the event. However, with protesters restricting access to the venue, safety concerns were raised should the event proceed. It was therefore decided that the screening should not continue." Clearly, the university views these trans activists as a threat to the safety of others on campus. Yet there was no police presence. How could that be? This suggests that activists are free to block lecture theatres without any consequences. But would the University of Edinburgh really take no action if an economics lecture was shut down, leaving high fee-paying international students out in the cold? Tom also made many ageist remarks. He derided Richard for his lack of hair. In Tom's eyes, his abundance of hair clearly proves that he's in the right. Sadly, Tom has broken the foundational values of Cabaret Against the Hate Speech. I'm sure these are values which he himself wrote. Challenge hate. We never engage directly with other protesters. We're there to be a positive presence in the space and show everyone that hate speech is not welcome in Scotland and will never be tolerated. Now, the essence of sexism and racism is having a stereotype of what people are like according to their skin colour or their sex. On Twitter, Tom asks, "Why is it always creepy old white men?" Even one of Tom's own supporters had to point out to him that his remarks are ageist, racist and sexist and might make their cause look bad. Cabaret Against the Hate Speech invites all their Twitter followers to donate to support the Temple of Satan. It would be hard to make this stuff up. They've gone from assuming all white old men think the same to assuming that all their own supporters are Satanists. But why are they so against the Scottish Family Party?
This one's just for the Scottish Family Party. Who the hell do you think you are?
Who are the Scottish Family Party? That's a good question. I'm glad you asked. The Scottish Family Party believe children stand the best possible chance of thriving when they're brought up by their own mother and father in a loving marriage. This ideal is not always possible. Nonetheless, it should be what we strive for. Children not brought up by their own mum and dad often feel the need to seek them out. Marriage gives the commitment needed for children to feel protected and nurtured and also be challenged and stretched as they grow up. Becoming a parent also develops leadership skills in adults. The nation is made up of children that grow into adults. In the long term, strong families lead to a strong nation. When singing Dancing Queen, Tom said, none of this lot 17, and pointed to those trying to enter the lecture theatre to see adult human female. But that begs the question, why is transgenderism disproportionately affecting young people? This is Boroughmuir High School in Edinburgh. It was recently reported that this school teaches children as young as 11, if they don't know who they fancy, then they are queer, and that there are 3 biological sexes. A separate gender-neutral language guide, prepared for staff at Wick High in Caithness, tells staff not to use terms such as mother, brother or sister to avoid upsetting pupils who identify as trans. This steers children away from a vision of one day having a family of their own. This guide helped the school win an award from the government-funded lobby group LGBT Youth Scotland. A primary school in Edinburgh asked all the boys and male staff to come to school wearing skirts. An expert group put together by the Scottish Government recommends that any parent preventing gender expression in their child should have their child removed from them. The Cabaret Against Hate Speech are angry with us, not because we hate trans people, we don't, but because it's our policy to stop transgender ideology being promoted in Scotland's schools. We do not believe this will lead to their future happiness. Tom sung, "I'm living in a fantasy without meaning." Kira Bell could relate to that experience.
I feel angry that, no one was there to really say any different, and I was allowed to run with this idea that I had, or, almost like a fantasy as a teenager. And I kind of found out how that was through the internet. I kind of built up the urgency to change. I just felt like each step, I consistently felt the need to change more in order to feel better, because, each step, it didn't really make me feel better as I went along, looking back on it. It has affected me in the long run as an adult. I'm very young. I've only just kind of stepped into adulthood, and I have to, deal with this kind of burden, or such a radical difference in comparison to others, at least.
Tom also sung, "It's Not Okay." This is not the first time Tom has made the news. Tom describes himself as a stripper.
And then you've got the added element of the striptease during the act.
Tom created a merman character for his adult show, The Salty Seaman. With the help of National Lottery funding, Tom also used a merman character in a show to read LGBT stories to primary school children. Parents were upset about a children's entertainer that's also working as a stripper. They think that's not okay. They'd feel the same way about a heterosexual school teacher, classroom assistant, or children's TV presenter that also works as a stripper. Tom says that he's received abuse and threatening emails because of this. That's not okay either. Tom went on to sing, "I need to pray." That's probably a good idea. I'll be praying for you too. Ex-gay porn star Phil Tanzer stood for the Scottish Family Party in the Highlands in the last election. Who knows? Tom might stand for us one day too. We don't hate you, Tom. However, under the proposed conversion practices ban, church leaders that give anything other than transgender affirmation for those asking for help to move away from a transgender identity face having their licence removed and their church's charity status too. This might be difficult for pastors to achieve because the Bible does not affirm transgender ideology. Rather, it teaches that God made people male and female, in God's image, that they might marry and multiply. LGBT lobby groups want churches to replace the Bible with transgender ideology.
And personally, my personal view is I don't think religious leaders should be touching this area of sexuality and gender identity at all. I think this is a matter for professionals. It is, we often think that prayer seems very soft, very, harmless. But actually in this particular area it's like any other quite sensitive area. It needs a professional who's fully trained. This will necessitate tackling head-on the complex issues of freedom of religion and belief and freedom of speech.
The Scottish Family Party is not a Christian party. However, we support freedom of religion and freedom of speech. Personally, I am a Christian, so we'll be organising some protests separate from the party which give a Christian perspective on why this proposal is so wrong. Like the Cabaret Against Hate Speech, expect a protest with lots of singing, lots of worship, lots of prayer. Find a link in the description if this concept interests you. The film Adult Human Female was being shown by Edinburgh Academics for Academic Freedom. The Scottish Family Party stands for freedom of speech. If you would like to see the Scottish Family Party in the Parliament after the next election, the best way to support us is to become a member. Membership is where the vast majority of our funding comes from. And unlike some parties, our membership has been growing recently.
Bitches, you have as much chance of getting a seat in Parliament as you do here. Swing it, shake it, feel it, make it.